Hello everyone, my name is Paula Choi,
Hi everyone, my name is Rosa Anguiano.
and today our topic is genetic counseling versus 23andMe.
Hello, we'll be talking about genetic counseling, benefits of genetic counseling in healthcare. According to the National Institute of Healthcare, what is genetic counseling? A healthcare service that helps individuals and families understand the medical, psychological, and family implications of genetic contributions to diseases. You may ask why you may see a genetic counselor is for planning for pregnancies, to address concerns about genetic conditions that run in the family or a history of infertility or multiple miscarriages. During our pregnancies is to discuss results from prenatal screening tests like the ultrasound, blood test, or if you are pregnant after the age of 35. Hereditary cancer risk is there for a strong family history of certain cancers such as breast, ovarian, or colorectal cancers. Cardiovascular health to assess the risk of inherited heart conditions, the cardiopathology, or high cholesterol, and then children's concerns if a child shows signs of development delay, birth defects, or other conditions that might be genetic. That's from the CDC, or the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. You may ask who should seek genetic counseling is individuals that may be referenced if they have any, a person or family history in cancer, particularly in diagnosis before the age of 50, a knowledge genetic condition, birth defects, or intellectual disabilities in the family, pregnancy concerns such as abnormal screening test or being over 35. Questions about genetic testing results, that's coming from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. You may ask, what happens during a session? Well, it's a history collection reviewing your personal and family medical details, often including a health status of relatives. That's everybody in your family. Risk assessment is evaluating the likelihood that you or your family members have or will develop genetic conditions. The education, it explains the inheritance patterns, the benefits of limitation of genetic testings, and what the results could mean. Support and guidance helps you process the emotional impact of genetic information and the support your decision without telling you what to do. Follow-ups are providing you a written summary of the sessions and referring you to medical specialists or support groups as needed. That's by the Center of Disease Control and Prevention.
Today I'll be talking about the company 23andMe. A fun fact to start with, the company's name comes from the 23 pairs of chromosomes found in a typical human cell. That's where the name 23andMe comes from. Before we can talk about how 23andMe works, we need to understand the foundation of everything they analyze. What is DNA? DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It's the molecule that carries all of our genetic information. DNA determines traits like eye color, hair texture, and even certain health tendencies. Every person's DNA is unique, which is why genetic testing can reveal so much about ancestry and health. This slide helps explain what DNA is before we talk about how 23andMe analyzes it. Now that we know what DNA is, let's look at what genetic testing actually does with that information. What is genetic testing? Genetic testing is a process that analyzes your DNA to learn more about your ancestry, inherited traits, and certain health tendencies. Companies like 23andMe use your saliva sample to look at a specific part of your genetic code. This can show where your ancestors come from, what traits you might have inherited, and whether you carry certain genetic markers that could be linked to health risks. Genetic testing doesn't diagnose diseases, but it can give you helpful information about your genetic background. Now that we understand DNA and genetic testing, let's talk about the company that makes this process so accessible, 23andMe. About 23andMe. 23andMe was founded in April 2006 in San Francisco. This company was created to give consumers direct access to their genetic information without needing a doctor or a middleman. This kit is mailed directly to your home. Inside the package, you'll find a plastic tube and instructions. You simply provide a saliva sample, seal the tube, and send it back to the company to analyze it. On the next slide, you'll see a demonstration of how the kit works.
You're here to understand what 23andMe is all about, right?
And how does it work? And what does DNA even stand for anyway?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid.
I knew that. You most definitely did not.
Your DNA is organized into 23 pairs of chromosomes, and it can tell you a lot about what makes you, you. There are two 23andMe services that can help you explore your DNA. One that focuses on ancestry, one that adds in health and traits. With 23andMe, you can discover where in the world your DNA comes from. You can even learn how you are connected to others by opting into 23andMe's DNA Relatives feature and connecting with people who share DNA with you. There are fascinating insights about your traits to explore.
Whoa.
You can learn how genetics might influence your risk for certain diseases. But remember, other factors such as lifestyle and environment are important too. If you choose to, you can opt in to receive genetic health risk reports, like Parkinson's disease and late-onset Alzheimer's disease, free. Now, there's only one thing left to do.
We get to spit?
Not quite. First, you have to order your kit.
You have a computer? We need to get a computer.
Order your 23andMe kit online and choose either the Health and Ancestry or Ancestry service. After your kit arrives in the mail, read and follow the instructions. We value your privacy, and the instructions will help you register your online account before you send in your sample. Now,
We get to spit?
you get to spit. Fill the collection tube to just above the fill line. And remember, don't eat, drink, smoke, chew gum, brush your teeth, or use mouthwash for at least 30 minutes prior to providing your saliva sample. After you've spit, securely snap the cap to the tube, which releases the DNA stabilization buffer solution. Holding the tube upright, unscrew the funnel from the tube and discard. Use the small cap to close the tube tightly. Shake the cap tube for 5 seconds. Place the cap tube in the small plastic bag. Seal the bag and return it to the original box. The plastic clamshell is recyclable.
They seriously thought of everything.
All that's left to do is to peel the strip and seal the box closed, then ship. You'll receive updates letting you know your sample is being processed. You'll be able to track your kit's journey to the lab through your private account. And then, about 6 to 8 weeks later, you'll receive an email letting you know your reports are in, and your genetic journey is about to begin.
Let's take a closer look of what happens after you send in your sample. After you send your saliva sample, which contains your DNA, it takes a few weeks for the lab to process it. Once your results are ready, you can log into 23andMe app and explore your ancestry composition, your maternal and paternal lines, health-related genetic risks, your automatically generated family tree, and even connect to relatives with DNA. Now that we know what the kit does, let's talk about how much these kits cost, depending on whether you buy them. The cost of genetic testing, local stores versus online. When comparing the cost of genetic testing kits, there's a big difference between buying them in local stores versus buying them online. In local stores like CVS, Best Buy, Walmart, and Target, the prices usually range from $69.99 to $100. You avoid shipping fees and get the kit immediately. Whereas online prices, however, can be much higher, usually $150 to $299 on Amazon or eBay. Online sellers sometimes raises the prices due to demand, limited stock, or third-party markups. Overall, local stores tend to offer the lowest and most reliable prices. Next, we're going to switch from talking about DNA to actually seeing it in real life.
This is the Strawberry DNA Lab, where you get to extract the DNA from a strawberry. It's really fun and easy to do and pretty hard to mess this lab up. For this lab, you will need some strawberries, a Ziploc bag, salt, dish soap, water, a coffee filter, plastic cup, pipette, rubbing alcohol, and a test tube. The rubbing alcohol needs to be cold, so go ahead and place it in the freezer before you begin. Next, make a soapy, salty solution by adding soap and salt to some water and mixing it up. And no need to measure exact amounts, just pour a little of each in and mix it right up. Each group will need about 20 milliliters of solution for this lab. After that, go ahead and get a strawberry, place it in your Ziploc bag, and try to get as much air out of the bag as possible before closing it. Then go ahead and carefully mash up the strawberry for about a minute. Once the strawberry is thoroughly mashed, get the 20 milliliters of soapy, salty solution and add it to the bag. Then take another 30 seconds to go ahead and mix it up and mash it up a little bit more. Then go ahead and get your plastic cup and filter, push the filter into the top of the cup, and wrap it around the outside. Go ahead and pour the contents of your mashed up strawberry into the filter, and be sure to hold the filter on so it doesn't fall to the bottom of the cup as you're doing this. The process of filtering it will take several minutes, so now you can take some time to go ahead and prepare the test tube with your cold isopropyl alcohol. Filling the test tube about half full works pretty well for this lab. Once a fair amount of liquid has collected in the bottom of the plastic cup, use the pipette to transfer 2 or 3 full pipettes of liquid into the test tube. Shortly after, you can see the less dense DNA will begin to separate from the solution as a tangled blob. It takes a minute or so for the DNA to float to the top. It's fun to take a paper clip and bend it into a hook in order to take a closer look at the DNA. This lab is always a hit, and it still to this day amazes me how easy it is to actually get the DNA out of a strawberry. Just for fun, I took some of the DNA and put it under a microscope, so here you can see some of the images that I got from doing this.
On the video we just watched about the strawberry DNA extraction, you can see that this activity is appropriate for children in elementary school settings, with adult supervision and/or guidance, as this keeps children engaged and is great as a visual and hand-on experience for children. Strawberries are the perfect activity because they have extra copies of their DNA, making it easy to see once extracted. The demonstration helps show what the DNA looks like outside of a lab setting. For the final result for extracting strawberry DNA, the results will be the extracted DNA appears as a white, stringy, mucus-like or cotton substance. Before we wrap up, it's important to understand HIPAA, which stands for the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. HIPAA is a federal law that protects your private medical information. It controls who can access your medical records, how your health information is stored, and how your information can be shared. Think of HIPAA as a private shield that keeps your medical data safe. In conclusion, while 23andMe provides interesting insights about ancestry, relatives, and genetic traits, I personally believe that genetic counseling is safer and more secure option. Genetic counselors operate under HIPAA protection, meaning your DNA cannot be sold or shared with third parties. Because of that, I feel that genetic counseling is the best choice for protecting your privacy and your genetic information.
After learning about both genetic counseling and 23andMe, I realized that each offers something different, and the choices really depends on what someone is looking for. 23andMe is interested because it's a quick access to things like ancestry, compositions, traits, disease risks, and even drugs response. It is usually at home, and I can see why people enjoy exploring where their DNA comes from or connecting with relatives. But when I think about my own health, my family, and the responsibilities of the real medical concerns, I feel comfortable with genetic counseling. In the documents, it explains how counselors review your personal and family history, help you understand inheritance patterns, and support you emotionally through the process. The level of guidance feels more trustworthy to me, especially because genetic counseling follows privacy promotions like HIPAA, which makes you feel safer sharing sensitive information. So I would choose personally genetic counseling. It feels more supportive and more accurate and more focused on my actual health rather than just curiosity. 23andMe is fun and informative, but genetic counseling gives me the confidence that I'm taking a decision with real professional help